If you could have one wish in life, what would it be? Lonnie G Johnson is a rocket scientist turned kid toy inventor. And you find that curious people always have the most fun in life because they're always thinking about the way things could be, or even the way things that should be, versus the average person thinks about the way things are, and then they just stop there. When you think about the way things are, then there's nothing to go from there. Well, that's how we've always done it. But if you want to live an exciting life, then you have to be curious. To spark my curiosity, I often ask myself, if you could have one wish, what would it be? And then when you answer that question, I start to think, almost meditate on it, where I reflect on not only what the world would look like, but how it would impact my life. And then I start thinking, how would I create such a world? And you find that inventors, that's often what they're doing. They are not being bogged down by the way things are today. They often are looking at the way things could be in the future, and then they start creating the steps to get there. So number one, you want to make sure that you're asking a lot of questions. Lonnie growing up was a very curious, a very inquisitive kid. He always knew that he wanted to be an inventor. They wanted to change the way that the world was. And he wasn't exactly sure exactly what he would do or how he would do it. He just knew that in his mind there was a world that just wasn't a reality yet, and he wanted to devote his life to making it a reality. So he goes to school, and then he eventually joins the military. And while in the military, he's working on the stealth bomber program with other people, where he helped create that program for our military. And being a part of that team, you have to ask yourself lots of questions, and you work within that brain trust. And that's why I often encourage you guys to have masterminds and like-minded individuals, because you're going to push each other just simply by being in the same room, asking questions and challenging social norms. That is going to push each of you in whatever projects you're working on to the next level. In addition to his work in the military, Lonnie also works for NASA, where he's creating and inventing, and he really gets to challenge the way things are supposed to be now, where now he's like a kid in the candy store. If you had to pick the number one and the number two places that you would go if you were an inventor, you would most likely pick somewhere in the military. I mean, we all talk about how much money they spend. Well, imagine if you are working and experimenting and you're working on trying to get the funds necessary and you want the technology and things like that. Well, when you're in NASA, when you're in the military, you have access to funds and technology that you may not have access to otherwise. So Lonnie's able to take advantage of this, where he's working on these different projects. He's providing immense value. So he really is living just what I would consider, on the outside looking in, kind of the dream life of someone who's looking to explore the limitations of this world and pushing beyond them. Number two, your confidence increases and your self-doubt decreases. As you are more curious, as you're challenging the way that things are, you are no longer being held to some of the limitations of society. That's one of those little funky things where you see a lot of people who are very successful, they end up doing things just slightly different than the norms. I would liken it to, if you've ever played fantasy football. Like, I've played fantasy football on Yahoo and ESPN and all different ones, and after you do the draft, they give you a grade. Well, what's the grade based on? It's based on whether you drafted in the order that they thought you should have drafted in. So you get more points if you drafted exactly how they ranked everybody, and you get less points if you had that feeling that this person would be better. And so if you, maybe your first year, you would be like, oh man, I got like a C, that's not a good grade. But then you win the championship and you're like, oh, I guess that ranking doesn't matter as much. And then the opposite is also true, where maybe you got an A and you're like, yes, I got an A, my team's great, we're loaded, we're stacked. And then you get blown out the first 3 weeks, and now you're switching out most of your roster. So it becomes a question of who created the scorecard, and is that something that I want to be held to? When you are curious and you're asking questions and you're now getting to the bottom of things, you will realize that there's not a whole lot of substance below a lot of these decisions that we take as I would say, like Bible, where we're just like, this is the way things are, this is the way things need to be, no more questions need to be asked. But curious people aren't held to the same confines that the average person allows themselves to be held to, where we are miserable every Monday and we're excited every Friday. Like, who made that rule? Why is that acceptable? And I've often referred to the Times Happiness Survey and Index, where 70% of people say that they are unhappy within their life. And so you really are saying, okay, well, at what point do we accept all of these as that's just the way that things are? And you find that when you start questioning the way things are, now you're changing the scorecard. Where it doesn't matter if you got an A or a C on your draft card, you made decisions based on the information that you had and the goals that you're trying to accomplish. And whatever happens as a result, you're okay with that. The self doubt isn't there because you're not looking for someone else to validate what you're trying to do. And I'm not sure if you knew, but Lonnie Johnson is actually the creator of the Super Soaker. So, yes, the gentleman who is a rocket scientist is also a kid toy inventor. And I teased a little bit at the beginning, and when he's explaining how he created that, he said he's like sitting there, he's messing with water in like a sink, and then like he said the pressure kind of, I don't know if you ever done that, but the pressure when you're pressing up against the sink, it kind of sprays the water a little bit stronger than it just comes out. And his mind and the curiosity of the questions that he asked, he was immediately able to take that concept and then apply that to a water gun, which before the Super Soaker, where you're able to kind of get that air pressure inside of it, was, something that just went a few inches, if a couple feet. And so he changed it where now these water guns are shooting yards out. And it's really a powerful example of what ends up happening as you increase your confidence, where it doesn't matter what other people are saying or what other people are doing. It's about what you believe inside is what can be done and what should be done. Number three is it brings more excitement into your life. When someone is able to be curious and open-minded, then it changes their life dramatically. Studies show that just by adding diversity, just by exploring new experiences and opportunities, just stepping outside of your comfort zone, your normal route to work, from home, the same people that you talk to, it's going to have a profound impact on the way that you see and interact with the world, that you're going to have been believing and accepting certain things that you'll find that just doesn't really make as much sense anymore. And it's a really cool idea when you think about these new experiences. Well, of course, that's going to add a new layer of appreciation to your life. It's going to add new joy. It's going to bring new experiences, new wisdom. And this is going to bring more excitement into your life. That when you are stepping outside of your norms, then that is increasing the opportunity that you have to have these rich experiences, where it changes the way that you see your life. If you travel somewhere where people are going to school where they have holes over the roof and they don't have desks to sit on and they're all sitting on the floor, you then appreciate the school that you go to because it's better than that. When you're bothered by the lack of opportunity because you're always comparing what the best get and it's not what you're getting, but then you experience someone else who has much less and they're appreciating their life, then it changes the way that you see your own life. I know whenever I see those speakers that end up, basically like having like their legs missing and then their arms are missing and they're walking around talking about how grateful they are to be alive, it really changes what it means to define what is a benefit of life. And sure, walking, seeing, touching, grabbing, they're all things that we would have grown accustomed to and we would miss if they were gone. But to say that that is the end of your life would be a mistake. To say that now you have no ability to do anything, right? There's people who are doing much more with much less. And it's always a reminder that I enjoy that by experiencing other people's lives, that it helps me to get out of those stereotypes. And that's for everyone, where everyone has a struggle. Everyone's trying to create something. But if we're not curious enough to want to walk a mile in their shoes, well, then we're always going to be on the outside looking in, and we may never realize that we have A, maybe the ability to help them, or B, they may have the ability to help us, or it may even be a mutually beneficial relationship. But you have to step outside of that comfort zone, and you have to be able to engage in these experiences, and it's going to bring a new level of excitement to your life. And number four, you're going to be open to new possibilities and opportunities. This is where the magic happens. If you are looking for opportunities, if you are open to new experiences, if you are asking questions, then the result of those first three is it's going to lead to number four, where you're going to create new opportunities in your life. And these are going to change your life. Now, I don't know exactly the millions and millions that Lonnie created by creating that Super Soaker gun and giving the license out to a toy company, but I do know that I believe I read that Hasbro had bought the company that he first licensed the Super Soaker with, and they weren't paying him royalties for a bit, and he was able to win a settlement of $73 million that they must have owed him in royalties, and then he's still collecting more royalties, and so we can at least say that he has $73 million that he has generated from this one idea. It was just him sitting there and he had an experience. It gave him the experience that this is something that I can do with a water gun, and it is going to change the way that kids play with their toys. And the value that he was able to add because of his curiosity is immense. I know I've read other projects that Lonnie is working on that he's tinkering with, where he had like a thermoelectric energy converter, and that's a fancy way of saying that it's going to convert heat into electricity. And so he's already still working on ways to create more benefit for other people. And it's just one of those things that keep on giving. Each of your experiences, the more that you have, the more expansive they are. They're going to create that much more of an opportunity for you when you hone them into whatever that vision is in your life. But you're going to want to make sure that you are gathering these experiences so that you're able to recognize the opportunity when they come. The mistake most people make is they never branch outside of their normal routine, so it makes it difficult for them to recognize any opportunities or the possibility to improve something. So you want to make sure that you're experiencing a wide range of cultures and events and understandings so that you're able to have these moments when you have something as simple as water spraying in your face and you realize that you have a multi-million-dollar idea available to you. I can say for me personally, without having the experience of being an engineer and being a rocket scientist and all that stuff, if water sprayed in my face, I just would have wiped the water off and kept going. But because Lonnie had those experiences, because he understood the intricacies of that, he was able to capitalize on that. I'm sure he wasn't the first person or the last person to accidentally spray water on their face. But he was able to capitalize and create an opportunity that many of us would love the chance to do ourselves. So go out there and make sure that you are being curious so that you can change your life as well. If you've enjoyed our time together, if you've enjoyed this video or listening to the audio, I only ask that you subscribe. If you want to make sure that you're able to create or capitalize on your next $1 million opportunity, I invite you to go to forecasthope.com/opportunity. You can download the Lifetime Millionaire Success Blueprint, and from there you'll be able to use all the tools available to create your own financial success story. Until next time, I'm Dre. Continue blessings on your journey to become the champion of your dream life, and as always, better self, better wealth.